Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today, well, before today's video begins, just a quick announcement that TSIOF is recruiting, which is the channel's clan. We have clans that are active in clan battles, participate in ranked, so forth and so on, and clans that are more casual for those of you that just want to hang around in the community. Link to the application for TSIOF is down below if you are interested in that. But today we do have in port to review for you guys the new Italian destroyer FR25. Quick shout out to the channel's Patreons. Without these guys' support, these reviews would be much more costly to make. If you guys do not know, I am not a CC nor affiliated with Wargaming in any way, shape, or form, so I do not get these ships for free. Must purchase them with the Patreon funds or the ad revenue from the channel. So again, huge shout out to those guys whose names should have just been up on screen for supporting the channel in that way. If you want to do so, link to the Patreon is in the description down below. It's the best way to support the channel besides, of course, just watching the videos and streams. So the FR25, what is this? Well, I can tell you exactly what this is. This is actually the Tier 6 French destroyer, the Guipard, how you say that ship's name, but moved over to the Italian line with some changes to her. And we will be going over those changes here in a moment. But as always, huge shout out to the art department. This ship looks absolutely fantastic, as all of the newer premium ships do. Some very nice detail on the ship. I can't wait to see what not only this ship, but the rest of the game looks like with the upcoming changes and upgrades to some of the special effects in the game. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the FR25. We're going to go through her stats and characteristics here in port. I'll throw up some gameplay footage of her in the background, and we'll talk about what she's like to play. Then I'll give the ship a numerical rating out of 10 at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and get started with the armor layout. Well, it is a destroyer, tier 7 destroyer, so nothing really big surprisingly here. 16mm of armor all across the ship. Superstructure is 10mm. No surprises there. It's a DD. So her ability, she does have 19,000 hit points, which is a big deal. That's a lot of HP for a tier 7 DD. Now you might be thinking, Sealord, this was a French DD, so does it get the French special damage saturation model? No, it doesn't. Which apparently it did at one point in testing, but they took that away and buffed up her HP. So you get 19,000 HP, which is, again, a very large HP pool at a tier 7, especially when you compare it to the Guipard and the other Italian DDs around this tier 6, tier 7. It does have quite a bit of a advantage on them there, but it does not get that special damage saturation model, where essentially the ship takes about half the amount of damage a normal ship would with the normal damage saturation model. So that's a big missed opportunity in my mind. Alright, going down to the guns. She has 5 139mm guns, equipped with SAP and HE. Now you might also be thinking here too, 139mm guns, that's big for SAP guns. That is, you'd be right. The SAP DDs, the Italian DDs, you can call them SAP DDs for the most part, they have around 120mm guns for most of the line until you get to the tier 8. With the Cuniberti. Oh, nope, she still has 120s as well. It must be the tier 9 then, I believe, gets the 130s. And with these 120mm guns on the mid to lower tier Italian DDs, they do a SAP alpha of, well, maximum SAP alpha of 2,850 damage. So by just hearing that the FR25 has 139mm guns, you would think, oh, well, clearly this should have a maximum damage rating of in the 3,000s, and it should, but it doesn't. Her maximum SAP alpha is 2,700, which if we pop on over to the Averi, the tier 6, her SAP alpha, maximum SAP alpha, is 2,850, with guns that are almost 20mm smaller than the FR25. The reason being that the Averi, like the rest of the line, uses a much more modern shell. So the Averi uses a shell from 1926, and then the Cuniberti, if I can find her once Again, I swear to God, I was just looking at the ship right there. I even pointed right at it. She uses a shell from 1926 as well. But then when you pop it over to the FR25, she uses a shell from 1924. So, less alpha. So missed opportunity there. And not to mention, too, the FR25 has a base reload of 6.6 seconds on 5 guns. Popping back over to the Aviri, which we're going to be doing a lot. Her 5 guns have a reload time of 6.5 seconds. So she has a faster reload time too, with better alpha. You can see where I'm going here. But to the FR25's credit, she does have much more range. You can get her guns out to 12.7 kilometers, which is much, much further than the other Italian destroyers. Now, her HE, she has a maximum HE shell damage of 2,000. She has a 9% chance of causing a fire on the target, 23 millimeters of HE pin, and a velocity of 700 meters a second. Now, with the larger caliber, you do get the ability to pin 39 millimeters of armor. Compare that to the various 120 millimeter guns of 34, so you do get to pin more, but both the Averi and the other DDs, other Italian DDs, can cross the 32 millimeter threshold, which is the last major threshold you really need to cross in the game. So, sure, it can pin more, but it's frivolous in most situations unless you're getting extremely up-tiered in the ship to tier 9. And sure, there's some parts of some ships that you can pin more of, but it's not really worth it. I mean, it's nice that it has it, but it's not a huge pick-me-up, is what I'm saying. Alright, so again, she does have a pretty nice main battery range of 12.7 kilometers, but we'll talk more about that in the gameplay portion. Torpedoes! She has 2 sets of 3 tubes of 550 millimeter torps. They reload in 80 seconds. They have a 6 kilometer range, maximum damage of 14,833. They travel 68 knots, and they have 1.4 kilometer detection. Compared to the base ship, compared to the Guipard, they have less range. They're more in line with the Italian torpedoes, short range, big alpha, but I mean, they are the same torpedoes in terms of damage that the Guipard gets at tier 6, but less range. Alright, depth charges. She does get depth charges, so no calling in planes for you. AA, it's tier 7. DDA is pretty irrelevant. Maximum speed of 36 knots. You get a turning circle radius of 690 meters and a rudder shift time of 4.4 seconds. This is all, of course, without modules or flags or commander skills equipped. And you get a concealment range of 7 kilometers base. Alright, so for the consumables, you get the French speed boost, so you get a 20% boost to your speed. And this boost lasts for 2 minutes. And you do get the Italian smoke generator, and this lasts for 30 seconds, and it reloads in 90 seconds. By the way, the engine boost also takes 2 minutes to reload. And of course, you get damage con, no heal, or main battery reload booster, which again, some of you thinking that this is a French ship, well, knowing that this was a French ship given to the Italians. This ship's fake, by the way. This doesn't have any type of historical analog. It's just something that Wargaming made up. So it's not like this is a historical ship or anything. It's just a Italian Guipard, or Guipard, however you say it. So no main battery reload booster, which would make this ship a lot better in my mind. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and spec out a commander and put my modules on here and flags on to show you guys what I'll be running during the gameplay session of this review. Alright, so for the module build, I took main armaments mod 1 to get the main battery guns in the fight. I took engine protection to prevent the engine from being knocked out every time the ship gets hit. I then took aiming systems mod 1, and then I took propulsion mod 1 2 to accelerate the ship faster. That way you get some better jukes out of the ship, especially with a speed boost. Now I do only have a 10-point commander. I didn't want to pay to respec my Paulo Emilio commander here, and yeah, I mean, this is the commander I've been running on most of the Italian DDs, and with him, they've been absolutely fantastic with just this very, very basic setup. I will tell you what I'm planning on taking next once I get him fully up to 21 points. But for now, we're running preventive maintenance, of course, to keep the modules, especially the guns, from being knocked out. Last stand, that way when they do get knocked out, we do have some semblance of maneuverability afterwards. Adrenaline rush, because of course taking damage and getting a boost to your reload time is very good. And then Concealment Expert for a slightly stealthier ship. I would then come down and more than likely take Priority Targets, then Survivability Expert, and then I'd probably take some combination of Superintendent and then Main Battery and AA Specialists. I mostly take a lot of 3-point skills when it comes to destroyers and the like, so I wouldn't really mess with this too much. Maybe the Fearless Brawler because, well, actually not with this ship, and we'll get to that in a moment. But with the other Italian DDs, I would more than likely take Fearless Brawler. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Oh, actually, I need to put flags on here, then run you through the rest of the ship's characteristics now that these are equipped. All right, so now with the flags equipped, the top speed is up to 37.8 knots, and with the Concealment Expert skill, the detection range of the FR25 is down to 6.3 kilometers. Alright, I'm going to take the ship in the battle, and I'll come back and tell you guys what I think about this boat. Alright, voiceover Mountbatten here. Guys, don't get this thing. This is either a very cruel April Fool's joke, or somewhere along the line, Wargaming lost whatever plots or idea they had for this ship, because this ship feels like it's having an identity crisis. Does it want to be a French destroyer, or does it want to be an Italian destroyer? It doesn't know. Wargaming probably doesn't know. This is just a pain to play, and I honestly have no idea what game you're watching in the background right now. We played this on stream a bit Friday night, and I'm not the best in DDs, but with gunboat DDs, I can typically get them to work. And the new Italian DDs, they've absolutely been dominating mid-tier. They are great anti-DD DDs. And yeah, you're not racking up hundreds of thousands of points of damage with them, but you're able to get in there, fight other DDs, smack them in the face pretty good, murder them, and then run away. The FR25 can't really do that all that well. And it's like, okay, fine, I get it. It's a French DD. These are gunboat DDs that use range and speed to their advantage. But the FR25 can't really do that too well, because the shells, as I'm sure as you're watching on screen right now, they are incredibly floaty. These shells are giving me American DD gun vibes with how floaty they are and how long they take to get to their target. They're giving me Leone vibes, because that ship's got some suborbital shells, shell arcs on it. Feels like more the same here in the FR25, so it's incredibly frustrating to use like that. But then when you try to play it like an Italian DD, it doesn't really work out all that well. I mean, the biggest complaint I have about, I got plenty of complaints about the ship, but the biggest one I have is the guns. These guns could have been great. There's several combinations of pros and cons I could give you for these guns that would make them in a much better set of guns than what we have right now. So if you want to have the guns you have right now, because I get it, they're 139mm guns. These are massive guns to have sap shells on. I mean, the tier 10 and the tier 9 have a 130s instead of the 120s that the Cuniberti down gets. So like the Adriatico and the Regalo, they have 135mm guns. Okay, so these guns have 3050 maximum sap damage. That's a lot. So the 139s, by virtue of being a bigger gun, if they had a modern shell like the Regalo or the Adriatico has, they have a shell from 1938, they should be doing well north of 3100 maximum damage. I get that's kind of nutty for a tier 7 DD to have sap that could do that. But if you gave it that shell and left the reload time alone, it would make sense. It's a long reload time on a DD, well, on an Italian DD at this tier, but it's got good alpha. So if you can land your shots, and given the floating nature of the shell, you got to play the ship close. So if you can land your shots, you can do great alpha and bully destroyers out of existence. That would have been great, but they didn't do that. They gave it a 1922 shell, with poor alpha and extremely floaty characteristics. So now when you do play close and we are landing your shots, yes, you're doing damage, but you're doing less damage than the tier 6 Italian DD. Because it has better alpha and better reload time than you. So when you go in for a close-in fight, you as a tier 7 DD are doing less alpha than the tier 6 DD. Your DPM is literally worse than a tech line ship that's a tier below you. So, it's not worth it in any regards, just on that merit alone. But anyway, okay, so, you don't want to give the modern shell, which that's one configuration you could have done. Long reload time on a modern shell, good damage, so if you can aim, you can bully DDs quite well. Okay, fine. You give it the 1922 shell, you give it the bad reload time, but you could take over another French gimmick, which is the reload booster. Reload booster on this thing would be freaking nuts. You could give it like 2 charges, 1 charge even, and 2 with Superintendent, because it would be that nutty. Sure, you get 2 bursts of being an absolutely insane murdering machine for however long you want to make it last for. 10 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. It'd have to be like 10 seconds because it'd be a 3-second reload time. So yeah, you give it a 10 seconds main battery reload booster. That would be insane. That would have worked. Okay, but they didn't do that. Instead, they give it poor DPM, poor alpha, floaty shells. Just on the guns alone, it's a terrible ship to get. But if you do want to play it at range like a French gunboat, is there anything there for you? Well, not really. Like we talked about, the shells are incredibly floaty. It does get the French speed boost, so you do have a 2-minute speed boost, which again is great for doing French things like running and gunning. But you know what can run and gun better than the FR25? Its tech line version, the Gwipard or Gwipard, how you say it. Apologize, French people. I've been murdering you this entire time. It's better for it. Why? Because it gets the main battery reload booster. It gets the thing that the French DDs are kind of designed around. So you get that. And you do get a better reload time too, 5.6 seconds. And you get the French damage saturation. Again, this thing doesn't get the French damage saturation model. So, yeah. There's absolutely zero reason to get this ship. It could have been a cool idea if they had given it the main bad reload booster or given it the proper shell that it should have gotten. Or at least give it alpha near what it should have gotten for being a tier 7 Italian DD with 139mm guns. But no, they didn't want to do that. I don't know why they didn't want to do that. It probably would have been a little bit much, to be honest. But you could have at least scaled that down into balance. But no, they give it this terrible set of guns. But you might be thinking too, oh, well, Mount, it's a tier 7 Paulo Emilio. Paulo Emilio has terrible DPM for its guns. Yes, it does. And sure, okay, you want to do Paulo Emilio things in it. Well, it's too slow. Sure, you can do some surprise torpedoes from around the corner of an island if something isn't paying attention, but it's far too slow to do Paulo Emilio things. It gets the French engine boost, which does last long, but it doesn't boost up the main speed as much as the Italian engine boost does. The Italian engine boost gives you a 25-second boost to your engine speed for 20 seconds, at least at this tier. And the smoke screen lasts that same length too, so you pop speed boost, pop smoke, run toward a target going blazingly fast, throw the torpedoes out, and there's your kill. It goes 37.8 knots, a little bit over 40 knots when you pop speed boost, like, I don't know, 43, 44 knots, something like that. It's simply not fast enough. Your boost is going to run out, well, not your boost, your smoke screen is going to run out before you get to the target, unfortunately. With most Italian DDs, even with the tech line ones, your boost and smoke screen typically run out at the same time, and you've managed to cross the distance from your concealment to the target, and you deliver your torpedoes there, and they're gone. And plus, the FR25 only has 2 sets with 3 torps a set. I mean, they do have pretty decent torp alpha, but you could snag a tier 6 battleship with 1 set if they're damaged, and if you don't rail there, torpedo protection. With both sets, you definitely could, but then that's it. The beauty of the Apollo is that you've got 3 sets of torps with insane alpha that you could absolutely just nuke ships out of the water with. You can't do that with the FR25, so no, it's not even good at Apolloing. So, playing the ship is utterly painful. I did not want to play the ship for this review. This is a ship I had to force myself to play in order to get this review out. That's why it took a little while longer, because I'm just trying to figure out, what do you do with the ship? How do you play the ship? It's just miserable, guys. If you want a French DD, go down the French DD line. You want an Italian DD, go down the Italian DD line when it exists. You want Paulo Emilio, grind out the Research Bureau points for Paulo Emilio. The ship is the answer to none of that. This is going to be a great stocking stuffer in the Santa Container event next year. Avoid the ship like the plague. I give this ship like a 3 out of 10. And 2 of those points are for the Italian speed boost. Sorry, for the French speed boost. And the other point is that it does have SAP. Because, yeah, SAP, when it does connect, even with the slow alpha, it is still SAP. It is still a very powerful armament. But it should have better SAP. The downsides being it's miserable to play, floaty shells, no French damage saturation, no main battle reload booster, of course, poor AA. But, yeah, it's a miserable ship. I wouldn't buy it. It's definitely not worth the money. Again, go grind your respective destroyer line if you want to play something like a French gunboat. Go grind the French gunboats. You want to go for a Italian DD? Again, go grind the Italian DD line. This is not it. This is not the ship for you. Avoid it. That's my official opinion on the FR25. Let me know what you guys think about this ship in the comments down below. Hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.